And now, 1988 Heathers. Rated R with a runtime of 1 hour, 43 minutes. This had a budget of $3 million. Alex, what do you think this brought into the box office?
Budget $3 million. It's a one-hit wonder. So it was probably immensely popular at the time. I'm going to say it made $65 million.
Okay.
That's a lot of 80s money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thomas, what do you think?
It's a one-hit wonder for a reason.
I was going to say like 25 million. I mean, that's a big, I mean, for the investment, that's a big return. So I'm saying like 25 million.
Okay, way off. This was not successful upon its initial release. It is considered a cult classic. This made $1 million on its $3 million budget.
Wait a second.
Wait, I thought this was one-hit wonders, not cult classics. This is really cult classics.
It's a wonder now.
Oh, it's a wonder it survived.
Okay.
I mean, the same with The Room. Do you think that The Room...
I was not involved with any of the decision-making. I just want to be upfront.
So I want to make something clear here. So first of all, the target audience for this was not able to go see an R-rated movie at the time because this was for teenagers, right? This was a teen movie.
Okay.
So even though it underperformed at the box office, and a lot of that was because New World Pictures, which was the distributor of this film, was going bankrupt at the time it was released, and so like they couldn't really put any money behind the marketing. When it came out on home video, its audience was able to find it, and that's when it blew up. And so like this movie's had a long shelf life after its theatrical run. And that is why it is a one-hit wonder, because Michael Lehmann, the guy who directed this movie, never went on to do anything else of note after this film kind of like flopped at the box office. So.
I feel like my enjoyment of this movie is skewed by Stranger Things, because like before Stranger Things, I knew Winona Ryder from like Edward Scissorhand, but I wasn't a huge fan of hers. But her acting, I'm not saying that I didn't like her. I'm just saying,
Have
like,
you looked at her?
Listen.
My goodness.
Calm down, 80s babies.
Just gonna do one of these and just say, oh.
I'm not saying I wasn't a fan of her because I didn't like her or anything like that. I just didn't have a big library of her content. Like I knew Edward Scissorhands, and that was pretty much it from Winona Ryder. Now that I've been watching like Stranger Things, like her work as Joyce Byer, like I fucking love Winona Ryder now. And I go back and I watch movies like this, and I'm like I do that thing because I'm like a huge fan of her now. So I think that kind of skewed how much I like this movie. I'm not sure if I didn't have that context from the new Stranger Things seasons, if I would look at this movie the same way.
Sure.
It's a weird thing. But anyway, synopsis.
Yes.
Let's go for it.
All right. Winona Ryder and her frenemies rule Westerberg High School, but for Veronica, it's boring at the top. When she runs into new kid Christian Slater at a convenience store, she thinks, I'd slurp the shit out of his slushie, and they start running into each other on purpose. When Veronica embarrasses herself at a college party, Heather number 1 vows to make her life miserable come Monday. So she and JD break into Heather's house Saturday morning. Veronica just wants to make her a hangover cure that'll induce her to vomit, but JD has other plans. He fills a glass with drain cleaner and feeds it to Heather, killing her. The pair decide to cover their tracks by making it look like a suicide, and JD starts thinking this is actually a pretty great way to get rid of more people in the school. And then he starts thinking that he should get rid of everyone in the school, and also the school. He rigs the school with bombs to blow during the pep rally. Veronica confronts him in the boiler room, shooting him and preventing the basement bomb from going off. Having been left for dead, JD re-rigs the bomb, straps it to himself, and tells Veronica goodbye, walking out into the parking lot to die alone. Discuss.
This movie is so fucked up.
You wrapped it up nicely.
This movie is so fucking dark.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't around in 88 for like high school age stuff, obviously. I was born in 88, so
it was just like this.
I don't really have a lot of context.
Like exactly like this.
Like I don't have a lot of context for what was going on in like the teenage culture, but I'm like, is this what freaking kids were like thinking life was like? Is this
the most fucked up part is how the school is like, we want your suicide to be like really meaningful for you.
Yeah.
Like
it was so fucked. Like, okay. I can't just say the movie is fucked up over and over again.
I don't want anyone to think that we're making light of
but that's
suicide.
That's what makes this movie dangerous to talk about.
It's so dark.
It's super dark. Like
it is a dark comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the original dark comedies, apparently.
I
Yeah.
guess.
And this came
it's
out
also social satire.
Yeah, and this came
Right.
out the same year as Beetlejuice, didn't it?
Well,
Where
no,
is
okay,
she-
okay,
No,
yeah.
Beetlejuice came out the year before this.
Okay.
It was some sort of weird release situation. Like they both say 88, but this is also says 89. It's like a weird thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just the Heathers, like immediately the first scene that we get with them, and they're sitting and there's like little perfectly manicured grass and they're playing freaking crochet or whatever.
Cricket.
It's called
Croquet.
cricket.
Croquet.
Crochet is
Not crochet.
Croquet.
Croquet. Thank
crochet
you.
is the
It's just tomato,
thing.
tomato.
yeah, same thing.
Sure.
I got you, man.
Like immediately I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is like the Powerpuff Girls or something. Like you got the red one, you got
Yeah.
the yellow one, and you got
Uh-huh.
the green one, and they're all like the same personality but different.
You're bringing up an interesting point. They all, the main girl and Winona Ryder wear the same colors throughout the whole movie.
Mhm.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Like Winona Ryder's wearing blue the entire movie.
I think if you're somebody like Kadish and you're like really analyzing the filmmaking process of this, like there's a lot of subtle
Yes.
hints as to what's going to happen just visually.
Mhm.
And the dialogue is like something different to like distract you. But like
Mhm.
watching the characters, their outfits and everything seems very deliberate.
Oh,
I
it's
mean-
like me and you, Alex, because you have the blue lights behind you and I have the red ones behind me.
Mhm.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm the evil one?
Yes.
No, it's just like it's like the dark brooding one.
Okay.
Like, yeah. Wait, no, you're the red one?
I feel that.
Oh, that means you're the boss bitch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you're the
I'm
boss
probably
bitch.
going to get killed off, though.
Oh, yeah, you're the first to go. Yeah.
But
It's lonely on the top.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But this, I don't know, man. This movie, like I was watching it, and I've never even heard of this movie before. I had no idea what
You've
to
never
expect.
heard of Heathers?
Nope, never once. I
It's
had-
legit like cult. I mean, when I say cult classic, I mean it's
This is what they're talking
this,
about.
is
Yeah.
really one of those movies.
I
yeah.
get that.
Oh yeah.
I had no context for what I was walking into.
Well, now that you've seen it, do you understand why it's a cult classic?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's an interesting movie.
It's very fascinating, and it's like one of those movies that you could watch multiple times, and I feel like you'd get something different out of it
Yeah.
each time.
Oh yeah.
Like it ages very well.
yeah, I think it's decent to watch. It's really fucked up.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of rape. There's a lot
Yeah.
of like it's like consensual rape. Is that how women had sex in the 80s?
No, I don't want you to say it like that.
I never had sex in the 80s, and I'm just wondering if it was just like basically forced, but like kind of
it's-
like a
Then
thumbs up.
you went to school the next day and you were like, oh, I guess we had sex, or well, I really want him to like me, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of it.
He's my
And-
boyfriend now.
Yeah.
that's so messed
It's
up.
so weird.
The really messed up part for me as watching this is like the domino effect of the murder/suicides of like because
Suicide becomes the cool thing to
it
do.
becomes the cool thing.
Yeah.
That was so messed up. I was like the popular girl gets killed and they stage it as a suicide, and then all the unpopular kids want to be like her, so they start trying to commit suicide themselves. I was like, oh, it blew my mind that this movie even went that direction.
Do you know what that tells me? It tells me kids have always been the goddamn same. Like even now, even then, they're all just trying to copy each other, and
Yeah.
and whoever they perceive
As the cool
as
one.
the cool one, it doesn't seem to matter what they're doing and what they're saying. They just want to emulate.
Right.
I mean, it's like what that's why we read Shakespeare, right? It's supposed to relate to today.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not calling Heathers Shakespeare, but it is an interesting insight. I mean, the social commentary on this is fascinating
Yeah.
because really, it's the same stories happening today.
I couldn't get over Christian Slater. Like the same thing with
Well,
Winona
well,
Ryder.
it was funny because you text messaged us and you're like, why is Christian Slater doing a Jack Nicholson impression?
Yeah. Legit.
And it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because like we were just like, oh, that's just Christian Slater. But Christian Slater is actually on record as saying that, you know, he based his performance off of Jack Nicholson. And he even wrote Jack Nicholson a letter asking, you know, if it was cool if he like kind of like modeled his performance after him. And he's like, yeah, Jack Nicholson never got back to me. So-
Never did. Because like immediately I'm watching this and I thought he was doing an impression from like The Shining or something. I'm like, he's acting just like fucking,
I never noticed it until you said it,
yeah.
and then oh my god, he's
It's-
even got the eyebrows.
Yeah.
it's like Baby Jack.
It's baby Jack Nicholson.
Baby Jack.
Yeah. The whole movie. And he's a psychopath. He's so crazy. And
Yeah,
he's
he's unlikable. I don't like his character.
no, I don't like his character
not
either.
fun.
He's the villain.
He's awful.
Yeah. He's manipulative.
Yeah.
He's a liar and
a
he's a freaking murderer.
Like a legit sociopath. Like
Yes.
a sociopath psychopath.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure she's banging him the whole movie.
Maybe.
She's like kind of okay with it, right? Like,
I don't know, man. It's so weird.
Like this guy's intentionally murdered. Dude, his first scene, he pulls out a handgun.
Dude,
and
Yeah.
fake blows 2 people away.
yeah.
And everyone's like,
Well,
oh my God, he is so edgy.
The conversation that they had after the fact.
It's completely different than it would happen now if that were to happen.
My
Yeah,
God,
like-
he'd be locked up forever.
I
They let him go back to school.
it's just it's just really poor timing on our part that we watched this movie right after some real world events happened, and I was watching it and I was like, oh shit, I gotta talk about this. This is gonna be weird. Like,
It's a crazy ass movie.
like the 2 jock bullies come up to Christian Slater and start like poking fun at him and whatever, and he freaking straight up pulls like Dirty Harry out of his pocket and like shoots, and then it cuts. So like the movie makes you, for at least 30 seconds, the movie makes you assume that he just blows these guys away.
Or
Yeah.
that it's a fantasy.
Or it's a
When we were
fantasy or a
watching it
dream.
together, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was a dream.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the next scene, and I was like, wait, what? Oh.
Yeah, and then the Winona Ryder and one of the Heathers were
They
talking
were
about
just blanks.
they were just blanks. He's not going to get suspended. I was like, fuck.
Like the hell you say?
It was the 80s. That stuff happened all the time.
Like no one had helmets back then. They were smoking cigarettes in high school.
You ever seen a car seat from the 80s?
Did they have them in the
I
80s?
don't think they had him. I don't
It
remember
just
having a car
kind of
seat.
hooks over the seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. I mean, I barely remember seatbelts when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Growing up, I never had a car seat. That was not a thing.
Yeah,
So what you're
same.
saying is it was funny to pull the gun prank.
I guess.
In the 80s?
I guess.
Well, in the 80s, that was a prank. Now it would be.
oh, you'd be in jail.
Oh
yeah,
you
it
would
be
Tried as an
that-
adult,
That's an
like,
attack.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the trauma that would be in that lunchroom in today's
Just
society?
the-
There would be not one dry eye in the building. It'd be on the news.
The way
Or set of pants.
Oh my God.
right.
Right.
The way that
It's
the school
not a safe space.
The way that this school in this movie reacts to the suicides of all these of the students.
It's fucked
It
up.
should be clear.
They have-
none of these people committed suicide. They all
they
get
all get murdered.
Yeah.
They like celebrate it and they like have pep rallies and shit. It's so weird, man.
And the unpopular kids try to commit suicide and fail.
And
because
they're
they wanna be
like,
cool.
the one line where I can't remember if it was one of the Heathers or what. Like, oh, it figures one of the unpopular people tried to emulate what we're doing and failed epically. That's just so normal for them. I'm like, oh,
This movie's fun.
it's so messed up.
This movie's
dude.
fun, man.
Like, be cautious if you're like sensitive to any of these topics. Like, don't watch this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching it, and I have no involvement in anything in the real world that would have like triggered me in that way. But I was just watching this, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is fucked up.
Well, let's not forget, it is satire.
Yeah.
It's like watching Blazing Saddles and being offended.
Fair point.
It's supposed to be over the top and ridiculous.
That's a fair
right?
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair
So
point.
so don't take it to heart. I think the problem with our modern perception
We
is
take everything literally.
everything's a personal attack
Yeah.
on our sensibilities, and we know somebody who knows somebody who and we make it personal.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's not forget this is satire,
And
this
it's
is we'll call it
35 years ago.
35. Yeah.
35. Yeah. I had to remember I'm like, what age am I right now?
Yeah, it came out. I mean, I saw Beetlejuice then, but there's no way I would have seen this movie then. No, I mean, just no way.
It's so funny, the two characters, like, I thought it came out the same year, but maybe a year apart. But like in Beetlejuice, she's playing a child.
Yes.
And not that much longer. She is a woman in this.
Oh yeah, she looks amazing in this. Like not in every scene, but every once in a while she got a dress on, and you're like, Winona.
This one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Her
there,
date
there it
scene,
is.
I'm like, holy shit,
There it
I
is.
want to look like that.
I was like, my goodness.
Yeah, so basically, originally Jennifer Connelly was going to be cast in this role,
That's a good one too.
but because of the subject matter, she backed out. And Winona Ryder had just come off of Beetlejuice, and she was like, "I really want this role," and everyone was telling her, "Don't take this role." Like, in fact, her agent said, "Like, this role will ruin your career. Do not do this movie."
Mhm.
But she was like, "I don't know. Like, I just think that this movie is special, and I want to do it." And at first, Michael Lehmann, the director, he was like, "I don't know if she's pretty enough to be Veronica," but Winona Ryder,
Based on those baby bangs in Beetlejuice. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Baby bangs?
Basically, Winona Ryder convinced him to give her a shot, and so she auditioned, and she was pretty much the only actress in town who was like really wanting to do this role, and so they were like, "Okay, we'll cast you."
Mm-hmm.
But also, a young Brad Pitt was supposed to play the Christian Slater role.
Really?
Yeah.
We have a young Shannon Doherty.
And this is actually the movie that got her role on 90210 because Tori Spelling saw this and she was like, "Daddy, this actress is so good," you know. And so she got cast in 90210 off of the success of this movie.
So, Kadish, do you have any context that you can kind of help me understand why this movie was made and in the way that it was? Like, is what was going on in this time period with this filmmaker where he would want to make a movie that's this messed up?
So a lot of this is actually down to the writer. His name's Daniel Waters. And he basically, at the time, there were like a lot of like kind of John Hughes, like teen movies coming out. And he wanted to make the anti-John Hughes movie. And so he wrote this in response to stuff like The Breakfast Club and stuff like that, where he was like, I want to go dark and I want to go crazy. And when he wrote the original draft of this screenplay, he was lobbying really hard to get it to Stanley Kubrick because he's like, this is a Stanley Kubrick movie. Only Stanley Kubrick can make a 3-hour, like, you know, dark, depressing, sardonic satire of high school. And of course, Stanley Kubrick, being Stanley Kubrick, he's like, nah. I'm not wasting my time with this.
You're too thirsty, bro.
Yeah.
So eventually the script got picked up and the director, Michael Lehmann, this was his first movie in addition to being Daniel Waters' first movie. And so like they just kind of like teamed up and started trying to get it made. And at the time, this was like one of the most controversial movies ever made about high school. Like you said, it's very heavy with satire. It's very dark. The subject matter is very morose. It dealt with a lot of stuff like, you know, homosexuality and like, you know, rape and like all this other stuff. And of course, the biggest one being suicide. And so like, it was almost radioactive in Hollywood. Like people are like, you know, we don't want anything associated with this. Cause at the time, like this was like you didn't make movies like this.
Yeah.
This was like super taboo.
Well, to be fair, there's not a lot of movies like this. There's not a lot.
I would struggle to think anybody would even make it now.
Yeah,
Like
no,
in today's culture,
I don't
there's
think
no
no freaking way they would make this
no
movie
effing
now.
way.
Yeah. So
Maybe David Lynch could make this movie.
I would be real messed up. I don't like his movies.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
But I think if anybody today could do it, I would think that he could.
Well, what were we talking about? Jawbreaker is very similar, right? Very similar movie.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
seen
It's
that
about
either.
a bunch of pretty girls in high school that kill each other.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. This is the original Mean Girls.
Yeah, yeah. I
almost.
mean, Mean Girls is very campy.
Nobody dies in
Yeah,
Mean Girls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just mean.
They're just me. They're just bullies.
They just wear pink on Wednesday.
Yeah,
I don't
Wednesday.
remember. Is it Wednesday?
You can't sit with us.
Yeah, but so this movie was financed by a company called New World Pictures, and as it was being made, New World Pictures started going bankrupt. And so by the time this movie got released in theaters, like they didn't have any money to really put behind it, and it kind of just like flopped at the theaters. But it was also rated R, and the audience for this was like 1980s teenagers, and teenagers couldn't go see an R-rated movie. So it was one of those situations where basically like it found its audience on home video and on like HBO and stuff like that. And once it did, it kind of reached this level, like, you know, they've tried to do sequels and like remakes and TV versions of this, but like nothing's ever come close to the magic of the original movie. And this was a very seminal movie. Like if you went to high school in the 80s, like you've seen this movie and it's had an impact on you because it does kind of like put into context the different social castes in high school and makes fun of all of them. And it's a really interesting movie.
The tone of the movie is interesting because it is funny. It is funny.
Yeah.
Even the
If you have a twisted sense of humor,
Yeah.
like we often do.
oh, well, I mean,
There's-
it's right up my alley.
Yeah.
The funniest part in this movie were the cops who figured out that the kids were gay.
Yeah.
By the Evian bottle.
Yeah,
By the bottle
sparkling
of water. Yeah.
Dude, so there's so many good lines too.
Where are they from? They're in Ohio or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like in Ohio if you drink
Sherwood,
sparkling water.
Ohio, yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in Ohio, and that is not far off from the truth. The funniest part of this movie is the dad of the football player who they murdered these two guys. They're assholes in the school, and they make it seem like they committed suicide in a lover's suicide pact because they were gay and they couldn't be gay in the world.
Yeah, no one would understand.
Yeah, and so the funniest part is the dad at the funeral being like, I don't care that you were gay. I love my dead gay son. He just starts yelling, I love my dead gay son.
Yeah.
And it's not funny. But it's hilarious.
But
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's so dark,
It's so dark.
but it's also really funny.
Yeah.
So this movie actually went through multiple different endings. Like they had like a variety of endings that they were kind of like trying to figure out which one to go with. And in one ending, so like there's this character named Dump Truck throughout the
Martha Dump Truck,
who's like this fat girl, and everyone makes fun of her because she's fat and she's awkward. Plus size. And, you know, she tries to commit suicide throughout, you know, at a certain point in the film because she wants to be cool and she kind of fails at it. And in one of the original endings, she ends up killing Veronica at the end after Veronica saves the school. And like, she's like, fuck you, Heather, and like leaves her to die. And Veronica's last words are like, my name's not Heather. You know? God. Another one was that, so Veronica decides that JD is ultimately right, and she blows up the school.
Whoa.
And then the ending is basically a big prom in heaven. And JD had talked about how like everyone gets along in heaven. And so like it showed like how all the social classes came together only after they died. And the studio was like, yeah, we don't like that one. Can we make it more
that's
more
a little
hopeful?
too encouraging towards
Yeah,
that
but
option.
I mean, if you think about like, you know, the things facing like school violence nowadays, and it's like this one touches on all of them. It's got like school shootings, it's got bombs in school, it's got suicide, it's got murder, it's got like bullying, it's got all this stuff, and it kind of like makes fun of it all, and in a weird way, it works. It's a very strange movie.
It works. Out of the three movies, I mean, I actually enjoyed this. I mean, it's a good watch. It's fun.
I don't know if I can say, because I'm gonna have a really hard time rating this movie because I don't think I can say I enjoyed it in like that was a fun, entertaining movie way.
Oh yeah,
it was just fascinating. Like I was stuck to the screen like, what are they trying to tell me right now? I was trying to decipher the message behind it.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. There's so many different things coming at you, whether it's like sex in high school, or whether it's social classes and depression and suicide and cliques and this and that. It's like there's so many things that it's putting a magnifying glass over. And I was just like, this is a fascinating movie, but I don't think I could say I liked it.
So we talk about all the time, like when we shouldn't laugh at something because like it's dark.
It's too sacred. You can't laugh at that.
But this movie speaks to like the core of me. And this is one of those movies that made Jude, because like I say all the time, like sometimes something really dark can also be really funny. And that's like at the core of comedy. You joke about something and it's at the core of like coping with shit. Sometimes you have to laugh through it.
Like dead baby jokes.
Exactly.
As we all laugh.
They're hilarious, but they're horrible.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like finding something in something dark that you can laugh through is so beautifully comedic and also dark. And this movie captures it and does it perfectly.
Okay.
I think you're really smart about that. It is cathartic to see something horrible and then be able to have a sense of humor about it, right?
Yeah.
It is cathartic.
Yeah. Like how many times have you been grieving about something and so you crack a joke?
Yeah,
that's a coping mechanism.
That's most people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, most people will use humor to cover up being uncomfortable or insecure. You'll make jokes. You know, we all remember high school. We all remember not knowing the answer to something, so we try to be funny, and then everyone laughs, and okay, now you feel better about it.
That was me and you not long ago when you had something going on in your personal life that we don't have to get into, but like you were coming home from that, and I was sending you "You're My Boy Blue" gifts to help you get through it.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
And the funny thing about this movie is like, so you know, Christian Slater's character JD, he hates these, you know, popular kids, so-called. And so like he ends up killing the first Heather, and, you know, he likes it because he's like, oh, I finally got my revenge on the popular kid. And then her suicide makes her even more popular, and it kind of backfires on him. And he's like, well, wait a minute. Like if I can get away with killing by just, you know, making it look like suicide, I'm going to do that all day, every day.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, he comes up with these plots to like kill more kids. And
it's the first time he's actually enjoying his high school experience.
Yeah.
So
While he's plotting these murders.
So
yeah,
fucked up.
but
that is
ironically,
messed up.
he's making them even more popular than they were when they were alive. And it's that weird kind of like
If you strike me down, I'll become more
About
powerful.
all that you could possibly imagine.
exactly.
The scene where he's trying to convince Victoria, is it Victoria or
Veronica?
Veronica? Thank you. He's trying to convince Veronica that it's like, oh, these are just special ammunition from Germany that like only slightly punctures the skin, but it doesn't actually hurt you. And then like later on, when she actually shoots the guy and kills him, and she's like freaking out about it, like, you lied to me, you told me this, and he's like, are you serious? You believed me? He's like, if you didn't want to actually do it, you wouldn't have done that.
Gaslighting 101.
Yeah, it's straight up gaslighting. And I was like, holy shit. Like this movie has so many freaking like, put a freaking stamp on it and call it good moments. I was like, holy shit, that was
Let's put it
crazy.
this way. It's worth rewatching.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that makes it pretty good.
It does.
Yeah, it
I
makes it pretty
can't
good.
say this is a bad, it's not a bad movie
No.
in any way. It's just
weird.
weird.
Actually, a pretty great movie.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed watching it. It is weird as shit. I do like, I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, I am a fan of weird shit just in any ways. I love interesting, weird. I love one-offs. Like this is very unique. I don't think I can compare it to too much. Could not, I mean, loosely, sure, but it's one of its kind. And so that makes it interesting all by itself. And watching it once wasn't enough. I really do think I should watch it again.
Okay.
It's an interesting movie.
Katie, she had what the writer wanted to do for a sequel. Take it away.
Yeah, so like Daniel Waters basically came out in an interview and he kind of said like, you know, like if I could make a sequel to this movie, this is what I would do. And he kind of equated modern day politics to high school in terms of like, you know, its maturity and like, you know, caste system and popularity and stuff like that. And so basically for Heathers 2, he wants to bring back Winona Ryder. And basically she's going to be a staffer with a senator named Heather, played by Meryl Streep. At least he wants her to
Get
be.
out.
And basically Veronica ends up assassinating different political figures. And ultimately she ends up killing the president, but it's a good thing because the president was awful. And I think Heather eventually ascends to the office of the presidency thanks to Winona Ryder, like killing all these political rivals and stuff.
Can the president be Jack Nicholson? Is that
I don't
possible?
think he's acting anymore. I think
he quit
yeah,
acting?
he retired. Yeah. He was having issues remembering lines
I
and
mean,
stuff
Christian
like
Slater's
Oh, that's
probably
right.
still
Christian Slater.
available. Reprising his role.
Yeah, yeah.
So it turns out he survived that bomb. We don't actually see him die on screen.
That's true.
That's
this is
a
true.
We
Fair
do see him
point.
lose his middle finger though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gets his middle finger shot off.
Yeah, they're pretty badass.
That's an interesting. So the only way I could see that working.
I don't hate that idea.
I don't hate that idea
I don't
either.
hate that idea.
Here's the thing though, is they would have to be completely non-biased and very nihilistic at looking at both sides of the political spectrum.
Who would direct it?
Like you can't have like the bad president be Trump.
Right.
Then you just throw the whole thing out the window. It's got to be a neutral. Don't even say whether or not it's a Democrat or Republican. Just keep everything on the level. Go full satire. Kind of do like what The Boys does, where it's just like straight parody of everything happening.
Yeah.
I think that might work. And Winona Ryder is at like a new peak in her career with Stranger
I
Things.
think it would play.
I think it might work
Is
if they
Eric
did it right.
Kripke available for this?
I don't know, man. That'd be really interesting.
I'd probably watch it.
I probably would too.
Based
give it a watch.
on watching this, I'd probably watch it. I probably would. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be done perfectly though.
Well,
Like,
that's why I
there's
said,
no-
like, who would direct it?
Matthew Kadish?
Why not get Michael
my
Lehmann
God.
to come back? He's not doing anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be his big comeback.
No, because every time that happens, it
Wait a
is a
minute.
tragedy. It is not good.
Okay,
It
what
is
do you
not good.
what do you think of that premise as a Tarantino movie?
Nah.
No, not
No?
Tarantino.
He's too
He
flashy.
wouldn't do it.
He's too
No,
flashy.
I don't want Tarantino. I
Yeah,
want,
he'd have to write it.
Tiki with Tai Tai. That's what I want.
Taika Waititi. Taika Waititi's not a bad option.
What about the guy who directed the Top Gun sequel? That guy, Spiderhead dude.
Oh, Spiderhead. I know you talk shit about the movie, but I actually really liked Spiderhead. I thought it was interesting. That's not a bad option.
That one on Netflix?
Mhm.
I'm not watching that.
You should check it out.
Don't bother.
It's interesting.
Thank you,
It's
Matt.
pretty
Don't
bad.
listen to him.
Thank you, Matt.
He's crazy. All right. Let's do final thoughts on Heathers. Tom, final thoughts, give it a rating. Do you have a favorite scene or anything like that?
I don't even know how you rate this movie. If we're doing a scale of
1 to 5.
1 to 5, oh God, I'm gonna give it 3.5 Heathers out of 5.
Okay.
You can't give it a 4. Maybe I could give it a 4. I'm really torn. I like it because it's one of a kind. I dug it. I thought the characters were fun. It was just weird and enjoyable. Like I said, it's got rewatch written all over it. Like some movies you watch once, like Blair Witch Project, and you're good. You're good forever.
Never have to watch that again.
You're good forever. Yeah. But this one, very rewatchable. I feel like a Coen Brothers movie, I could watch it 30 times.
Yes.
And it would still be interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Maybe the Coen Brothers would do the
That
remake.
would be it.
Oh my God.
The Coen Brothers direct
Solved it.
the sequel to this movie.
They would do it right.
A political satire sequel. Yes.
They would do it. Very Hudsucker Proxy.
Yeah. Burn After Reading.
Yeah, very Burn
Yeah,
After
you
Reading.
get George Clooney play the president.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
I think we nailed it. Yeah.
Perfect.
But no, it's fun. It's good. I would have liked a little bit of nudity. It would have amped it up a little bit. Winona Ryder was looking pretty cute. I don't know how old she is, so let's not make it weird. But yeah, a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Okay. All right. Jude, give it a rating. Final thoughts.
So I agree with a lot of what you said. Watchability, like rewatchability. I could watch this again and again. I have watched this again and again. I've made other people who've never heard of it before watch it, like you, Alex. It being like really like you said, like one of a kind. It's the first of its kind, I'm pretty sure. Dark comedy. No one had done this before. It didn't do well until people kind of started like seeing it for the genius that it is. So in that respect, like it's a one of a kind. I can't give it 3.5. It's a 5-star movie for me.
I can't argue with you. I
could watch this again and again and get something else out of it every single time. Like it's just so dark and very well written, and like everything is set up perfectly. Like she's writing suicide notes for people, but it's set up earlier that she can copy people's handwriting. And like everything that happens, you don't question like, oh shit, that would never happen. You just go with it. And it just gives you the ability to just fully sink into it and enjoy the ride. 5 stars. 5 forged handwritten suicide notes out of 5.
Okay. Okay, just final thoughts. Give it a rating.
So this is a very interesting movie. It's deep on a lot of different levels, but it's also very entertaining. It's fun to get to see these early performances from Winona Ryder and Christian Slater. This is really the thing that put Christian Slater on the map, because it was like, you know, his first big movie. And it was kind of funny because when he started doing the movie, he was dating the girl that played the main Heather.
Heather number 1.
Heather number 1.
The red one.
But so like when he started doing this movie, he was dating that girl, and I think he helped get her cast. But throughout the course of the movie, he started dating Winona Ryder and dumped the first Heather for Winona Ryder. Yeah. And I think that both Winona Ryder and him have come out and said that like at the time they were like, well, we were both leads, so we were just kind of expected to be dating, and so like that's what we did. But I thought that was kind of funny. And the girl who played Heather number 2, there's a scene in this movie where like, you know, Winona Ryder and her are out and like tipping cows with like the 2 jocks. And one of the jocks is just basically like raping Heather number 2, and she's like so not into it.
In the background, just casually raping her.
Yeah, but she's like going along with it because it's like, well, it's what I'm supposed to do. But the actress who played Heather number 2 lied about her age to get cast. She said that she was 18. And she was actually like 26. She was like the oldest person in the cast.
Whoa.
And after she got cast, she's like, oh, by the way, I'm actually 26. And they're like, well, you know, we think you can pull off 16 or like whatever. And then Shannon Doherty, you know, of course, like this was like her big kind of like breakout role, and it led to her getting cast in 90210. And yeah, like everything in this movie, it's a very well written movie. It's well made. It stands the test of time. But I don't love it. It's just like not my type of thing. So I got to give it 3 dead gay sons out of 5.
Jesus.
Heather number 1, the actress that played her, she died in 2001 of a brain tumor.
Oh, I did read something about like the people who died in the movie, the characters who died in the movie, like the actor counterparts to those characters died in like eerily similar ways.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Well, there was one actor who basically said like, you know, like, oh, if, you know, in the movie, he said like, oh, I'll blow my brains out if this thing ever happened to me. And then like the actual actor, like years later, ended up shooting himself and committing suicide.
Wow.
And then the brain tumor lady, there's a line in this movie where like, oh, you're going to end up with a brain tumor or something like that. And then years later, the actress had a brain tumor. It's that adds another layer of like creepiness to this movie.
That curses are real.
Curses are real.
So this is a first time watch for me. I had no idea what to expect walking in, and probably within the first 30 minutes, I was just like glued. I was like, what is this movie? This is so weird. It's definitely something that after I'm going to digest it for a minute, I'll probably end up watching it again to see if I get anything else out of it. I do feel like it has like a Stanley Kubrick vibe where like, I feel like visually things mean something that I'm not picking up quite yet what the message is, but like the red scrunchie. That there's something about that red scrunchie, because when the lady wears it, the other Heather wears it after the first Heather dies, and everybody makes a big deal out of it, like, oh, you're wearing your red scrunchie, like you can't fucking do that.
It's
and
like the crown of the queen bee.
And like the significance of why each Heather wears a specific color, like one always wears yellow, one always wears green, so like shit like that. I feel like there's messaging behind that where I would like to kind of like dive into it and try and figure out what they were trying to tell me. Christian Slater as like mini Jack Nicholson. Never really seen him in a movie before, like as like a main character. He's always been like a side character.
I feel like he's always trying to channel James Dean.
It's something, yeah. He's pulling from a library of other actors for sure.
But is he trying, or is he just being that cool?
I don't know.
It's hard to say.
I liked how freaking weird and dark this movie went. I'm gonna give it a solid 3 severed middle fingers out of 5. It's good stuff. It's crazy weird. Don't watch it if you're like sensitive to this kind of stuff. But
No, do
watch it.
Do watch if you're sensitive. Like
You're gonna
knock yourself off your freaking pedestal for a minute and just watch something.
All right, Tom. That's fair enough.